from China, also from the Leping Social Entrepreneur Foundation. So today I will talk about like how you can use a very short time presentation to really influence your potential social impact investor. So here I want to make like one very important statement of these uh, not only training but also like sharing. It's because these modules and it is very usable and a very user-friendly template. So I think I will use less time to explain the whole template, but also leave more time for you to raise questions and make some comments. And because originally it's a very interactive workshop, like the presenter will explain the whole process and the whole template, and the students will work on it and to present it and get the feedback from the students in the classroom. So I think we can do it in our LinkedIn group and maybe continue our discussion on the LinkedIn group. So right now I will start with my presentation here. Just a minute, I will present here. Okay. So today's topic is how we can put ourselves in investors' shoes to really get to know what they really care about to make a decision whether they will invest in your social venture or not. So and then I will present a template, like 2 templates for you to be referred to when you make your presentation or elevator pitch to the impact investor. So to begin with, there are 4 key elements that impact investor really care the most. I separate it into impact model, business model, growth plan, and the team profile. So within each the questions, there are several sub-questions that impact investors are caring the most. For the first, impact model, do you find to the impact investor, the real question is, do you find the real social problem, and do you really analyze this problem and to find the root cause for the real problem, and is your solution really relevant to the root cause? So this is very important element that is quite different from the commercial investor or commercial area. That is, do you really provide relevant solution to the problem you find? Second, it's about a business model. So you have to explain to your impact investor who are your real customer, what is the size of market, not only the whole market, but also is the attainable market. How do you define the market? How do you define the attainable market? And who will pay for the value you create for them? How do you see your competitor? Is there any differentiation of your product that can really separate you from your competitor? And how do you build channels to really make your product reach your customer? So this is all about who do you want to serve, and who will pay for the value you created for them, and how you channel the value and really make them to pay for your revenue stream. So this is the second part, the business model part. And for the third thing is because impact investor really care about how you can scale up, not only in impact but also in business. So what is your growth plan, and in what scale, and in how many phases, how many years you want to grow your scale up plan? And this is what really we care about. And the fourth is team profile. Do you or your team member have the potential of a social entrepreneur? Do you have the relevant competencies that can really solve the problems you want to solve? And if you are really young, like all the participants in the D-Prize, you are university students, you have to learn a lot like marketing, leadership, business model, sales, a lot of stuff. Are you a fast learning person? How will you create a steep learning curve for yourself and for the team? And for the last thing is because we know if we want to really be a long-term and a committed social entrepreneur, we really need to build our leadership, especially in the time of toughness or in the ambiguity. How we can lead the team to conquer all the ambiguity, to find our real mission and to really achieve our mission. Do you showcase your potential for a leader? So especially when we assess a team from the very beginning, like a pre-A series or Angel series, we really want to see how flexible and how committed and how fast learning the core leadership team can be. So these are 4 key elements that an impact investor really care the most. And the following templates will closely follow the 4 elements. Actually, the title is like the template for 3-minute presentation. But as I personally observe a lot of like presentation, and also I rehearse myself. So I really think we can just make it 5 minutes at first beginning, and then we can shorten it and make it more smooth into 3 minutes. So so next, all the next slides will showcase you how we can really condense the key elements of the 4 key elements that impact investor really care the most into 5 minutes presentation. So I will go through all the presentation slides. First, very simply, like what is your enterprise name here? So for the first page of all the for the whole presentation, there will be a mission. Why mission should be the first page of all of the whole presentation? It is because a lot of times from the impact investors' perspective, we will have our investment strategy, and the impact investment strategy will normally focus on different social issues. So the first thing is how we can align our strategy, investment strategy, with your mission. And we really want to see on the on the basic and elementary level, will we have the same mission, and will we have the commonality in our agenda in solving the social problems in a systematic way. So if you can state your mission in the first beginning in a very clear, just 10 words, that will make a very powerful statement, and it will make a powerful distinction from other presentation. So here we really see 3 lines. First thing is it's very simple, like template. It's you do something for whom, to achieve what, and it will be more powerful if you can just make it into a 10-word sentence. Yeah, I think it's very hard, because if you want to solve a very complex social problems, and if you don't have very clear like customers at the very first beginning, but the mission part, it's very important to be a guideline for all the solution designing and all the business model and impact model. So these page normally in my workshop, it's like if we spend 2 days on the whole presentation, the mission can last like half day, because a lot of time what we want to achieve, who we want to support, and how we do it is really important at the first beginning. So if we really state our mission in a clear way to be a headline for the whole presentation, the next slide is that how we can really state clearly about the problem. So there are three elements about the problem statement. The first thing is what is the size? The second thing is why it is a problem. And the third thing is there any existing solution? And why the existing solution is not working well? I think the second page is really fit for all the DPRI students because what we emphasize is we want to find a existing solution, and then why the existing solution cannot solve the problem, and we find the problem within the distribution, the process. So within the problem statement, from an impact investor's perspective, what we really want to see here is that whether you really have an ecosystem view about the social issue or social problem, whether you have this, you have the right analysis of the problem and the root cause, and whether you define the problem right in just one sentence. If you can describe the problem in one sentence or in 3 points, that means you really find the key to the solution and the key to the problem. So these are also very important to begin with about the presentation. And the third page is definitely about how we can clearly state our solution. And I think here the most part is after you analyze all the existing solutions in the market, how do you differentiate your solution from the other's solution, especially in the effectiveness and the efficiency? How will you describe your product that is more efficient than the existing things? So this can be a very also a very strong standpoint for the impact investor to see why the impact investor invested in your social venture, not in the existing other competitors. So these three, from mission, problem statement, and the solution description, can be a very first beginning to really impress the impact investor, to let them know you are doing the right thing. And the fourth is because a lot of time an impact investor really want to see some track record of your test out or your just a very tiny trial. So we really want to see in two ways. In one way, we want to see how you can use data and quantitative like metrics to really illustrate your impact to date. And another thing can be more qualitative, because that can be very hard to quantify, like how you can positively influence the customer and the target audience that you want to have an impact on. So from the qualitative and the quantitative stuff, that we can see whether your track record really shows the potential of these product. And so for the next slides, that will focus more on the operation stuff, like the marketing, value chain, and the stuff here. So for the 4 pages above, that will form a very strong statement of impact model. What's your problem? How you can solve the problem? What is your solution? Whether your solution is really differentiated from the existing solution in both efficiency and effectiveness, and how you can prove that your solution is really effective and efficient, and this also can be a evidence-based impact to date to prove that it is what you said. It is it is true that you can see what is our plan in the operation part. So next slides will be more on the marketing, sales, and like the financial model. So for the first slide is about how do you segment your market. It's like because there are, if you want to solve a problem of education, like equal opportunity to education in rural area, that can be very different, like segmentation of markets. Like if you separate the market in like their grade or their age, like if it's like a pre-learning K-12 and like a pre-college and a college and adult learning, something like that. But if you dig more in deep into the one segment, like a pre-learning, if you want to solve the pre-learning, it's like the children or the teacher. And if you want to solve a problem about a pre-learning teacher, whether they have like a very adequate training from the college, and if they whether they haven't the training from the college, so there will be a very segmented market. And from the very segmented market, then you can have the size and what you want, what value you want to create for them, and what is the sales and distribution strategy that you want to channel your product to them. So these all charts will begin with how you can really have first you have a very ecosystem view of the whole market, and to see how many people and what kinds of people you want to provide your product. And second is whether you can really analyze the different market and to really separate them into very differentiated segments. And if you can make it if you can make it more specific, then the value proposition and the sales strategy and the distribution can be more specific. And for the next thing is the value chain. So the value chain is about is really closely related to the segment, the market segment. That is how you can map your stakeholders and what value you provide for the stakeholder, and what value does the stakeholder provide to you. So I think this is a little bit abstract. So I will elaborate about these page in the next cases. So for the next two slides, there will be a growth plan and a financial forecast. So for the growth plan, it will mainly about how it's like in two ways. In one way is you have to set up about what's the key activities and what's the impact you want to achieve. And the second part is it's more about what from what you see, it's more about like the money side. So how do you see in each year you want to create the revenue and the cost, and in the end of the year, how many balance ended that you can create for your company so that you can sustain your company. So in this growth plan, from an impact investor's perspective, they will really see what is the growth speed of your venture, both in impact part and in the revenue part. And for the last page is that it's more like a visualization of your financial growth plan. So it's more straightforward for the impact investor to see what can be the trend and what will be the break-even point within your development phase. It's 1 year or 3 year, and why can you say that you have the break-even point in 3 years? So it can be trace back to how you can make the key activities and impact to support your financial forecast. So for the next, I think this is the last presentation slide. Is about your team profile. So here, I think the most important part is how you can, there will be two parts of the team profile. The first thing is you can use a story to really tell them that why you are triggered about the social issue, why you are so committed to the social issue. That can showcase and influence the impact investor from an emotional side. And for the other side is that you really should focus on what are the competencies of your team. Will your team will your core leadership team compensate with each other on the core competency? It's like if you want to do like education, social enterprise, will there be a consultant or a core member that is expert in the education part? Or if you are not in a education part, in an education expertise, will you have like substantial learning methodology or a plan for you to be an expert, or how you can utilize or leverage external resources to help you to achieve the expertise? So from these two sides, from the emotional part and also from the competency part, that can be a very compelling presentation to the impact investor. So I think the before previously it's more like a very usable templates, so that you can try to fill in the blanks when you design your D-price, the business plan, or the whole like description. So next I will really quickly go through the cases of one of the case that is natural farming. So for the first slide, it's really about the mission. What they really want to do is that provide the coming generations with healthy and environmentally friendly farm. So that can be a really very powerful statement that can lead next slides. So I will very quickly go through it. From here, what we see is from the problem statement and the solution, we can see very strong linkage between the problem and the solution. So it's like the key problem here is that the long-term vitality of the farmland is being threatened, is ignored. So from here, we really want to see how we can educate the next generation and the old farmers about the benefit of organic farming. So we can see a very strong linkage between the solution and the problem, and this is what an impact investor really cares about. And from the impact to date, that we can see the track record of the team to really test out whether it's an effective part. So here we can see very strong, especially from the 20% increase in farmers' income because of organic products. That can be a very strong impact model statement, and especially a track record for the impact investor to see what's really being achieved. And for the next slide, because the problem is mainly about how we can save the farmland. So they really dig into the market and find there are two main groups that we can have impact on. One is about the elderly farmer, and one is the young farmer. They have to be they have to use a different reason and the values to achieve the goal and to attract the different target market and the segment market. And this is the what they want to express, what value they want to express to the elderly farmer and to the young farmer. So they try to frame this in two sentences. One is for small scale farmers, offers education about organic farming and it sells the fertilizer that are better for the environment. So this is one thing about what they do. And the second thing is what they can differentiate themselves from the existing solution that is unlike others. They just sell the chemical pesticides. So these two values can really make the impact investor to see what's their role in the whole market. And then for the next thing is about how you can channel your product to the different segments, especially if they have the different habits of using product or habits to get information, that you should use the different marketing strategy. Like old farmers, they will normally listen to radios. They believe more on the peer farmers. So a lot of time you have to going on fields to really let them know and to make one or two key opinion leaders in the farmers community to spread the word. But if you want to engage more young farmers, it's like you can use Facebook. In China, you can use WeChat, Weibo, or something like that. It's a social media word. So to target really different segments, you have really different marketing strategy, and you have to use different channels to really reach them. This part is more about a value chain. So they really map the three key stakeholders within the natural farming. So one thing on the left is natural farming. The second is distribution shops really selling the agricultural products. And then the third is the rural customers. So the blue area really shows what the value process from the left to the right, and the red part is how they can give you feedback and how they can give you value. So it's like an exchange of value. So that can be really important in the model designing, because sometimes what we imagine is that we can sell product to the farmers, but we really don't put ourselves into our stakeholders' shoes to really think whether it can be a value exchange, whether our product is making value to them, and will they have their value to us to also help us to promote the product or something like that. So if we can map the stakeholder first very clearly and really figure out what's the value exchange between different stakeholders, that can really to test the feasibility of the whole value chain and the impact model designing. And for the next thing is about the financial model and the growth plan. So for the financial model and the growth plan, it's more like so for the natural farm, what they really can make revenue is how many bags they want to sell, and what's the unit price, and how many bags they sell. How many they can estimate how many bags they sell so that they can cover all the costs. So for the natural farming, the financial model can be a very straightforward thing. And you can see from the next slide, it's about growth plan, is how they can engage different farmers and how many bags they want to sell so that their revenue and the cost can reach a break-even point. in year 2016. So 2017. So it's like you can see from the previous slide and to the next slide, that can really be a guideline for you to really think about how you make your revenue and how you can make your revenue to reach a break-even point, and when is that, and how you can forecast the upcoming years in revenue generation. That can be a really important part for the impact investor, because what they really see is how they can exit the cases with your revenue increasing, and how they can exit with the impact increasing. So these are, I think these are very straightforward templates for you to use when you think about when designing your business plan for the impact investor. And the next thing is there will be a very there will be a very straightforward 1-minute elevator pitch. So it's also very user friendly. So there will be just 4 sentences. I will quickly go through it. So for the first sentence, the really key is about your mission and your impact to date. That can really set your track record. And the second sentence is about what's your market and how you can reach the market. And the third sentence is about why your customer really like you, and what really differentiates you from the existing solution. And the fourth is, what is our growth plan? And if we want to achieve our growth in 3 years, what kind of capital and how much money we need from you. So these can be a very straightforward scene. If you like take an elevator, then you accidentally happen to meet a potential impact investor, and you have just 1 minute to talk with them about your plan. So that can be a template that you can structure your just very brief statement. So I think these templates, it's very easy to use, but it really trace back to 2 things. First thing is how well you research and test and design your social venture. And the second thing is how many times you practice and how many times you really think through the whole process and the whole logic, that you can really make it very short and precise to when you talk with your potential impact investor. So I think these are my very brief presentation. And normally there will be like the following time is like an interactive workshop, because we will let students to use like 15 minutes or 20 minutes to quickly fill in the blanks and to present it in like a simulation, and then we can give a lot of feedback. But I think right now we can just accept more questions from you. Which part do you think I have to go in deep, and I give more cases to elaborate more? So I think the Q&A part is will be in the chat box. So I will see here to see whether there are any questions. Just let me see. So let me see how I can see the chat box. Oh, here. Okay, I can see. I can see the first question from Rachel. So Rachel raised a question is what are some of the mistakes that people often make when doing these presentation? And the second question is from Ali. When do you think is the right stage at which a new social enterprise to start talking to impact investor? Okay, so start from the first question. I think there are two main not to say mistakes, but it's more like a common error or yeah, common errors. I think of the mistake. So for the first, I think a lot of times we just really just straightly jump into a solution design part. Um, um, Especially when I interact with a lot of startup social enterprise, if they find some idea that is very interesting and that is very intriguing, so they really dive into the solution designing part and the business model part. But actually, what differentiates impact investor from the commercial investor is really about social impact. So what's really most important is how you can really define your mission, how you can really identify the real problem and really trace back to the root cause, how you can analyze the problem in a very structured way and use your by your critical thinking skills. So a lot of time, I think the presentation itself can be a very fabulous and a very fun way to view. But if you cannot really provide a solution that can be relevant to the problem, that can make really no sense. So this, I think, is the most common problem when we see all the pitches. And the second thing is, I think a lot of time, especially when we view the business plan from the university students, and you guys are very passionate about creating social impact, and you guys are very really want to see your business plan passes the first screening stage so that you can really interact with impact investor. But what we really want to see here is that whether you have your very small start, like a MVP, like a minimum viable product that you really test in a very small space, so that if you want to solve a very huge problem in education opportunity access in a rural area, so that you can spend very small time and even really very no money to really test your idea in the kindergarten or in the school, to see whether it's really doable and really acceptable solution. So impact investor sometimes really want to see a track record, but if you are really just a startup, we also want to see test out, because all the social venture is built on small success. And these things also really can continue with Ali's question. So what is the right stage as a new social enterprise need to start talking with impact investor? I think when you think about talking with impact investor, that can have two objectives. The first objective is really about you can see impact investor as a coach, as a learning partner, or as a mentor when you design a business model, impact model at the very first beginning. So please don't be afraid to reach out, to send your business plan, to participate in different various kinds of social venture competition. That all dialogue can be a really learning, can bring you a learning curve to really redesign and to really think through all the logic when you design the business model and the impact model. And the second objective that can be a more common and straightforward, that you want to raise money. So from my point of view, from the China's ecosystem, so there are some of the impact investor and the foundations. There are a lot of foundations or impact investor. They are more willing to see more like mature or more like they are more they want to talk with more like mature teams and like models because that can really lower their risk and give them more efficiency to really test out whether it's investable team or social enterprise. But there is a trend that there are more and more foundations, especially very traditional like philanthropic foundation. They are more interested in interact with university students or the very startup phase to co-design and co-create the model, so that from the very first beginning, the team, the foundation and the impact investor team can really help the startup team to find the real problem and find and design the real relevant solutions. So to put it in short, I will encourage all the social ventures, or especially D-Prize students, when you design the social ventures, please don't be afraid to reach out. Please just involve and engage a potential impact investor when you first design the business model and the impact model. That can be a really influential learning curve for you. Okay, I can see another participant, Ganesh. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Do you have any questions or to raise, or do you have any comments or suggestions about these templates? Is the template really user friendly or usable for you? Can the template really be a guideline when you design your own social venture, when you participate in the D-Prize? Okay, cool. Cool. And I think because I think Rachel is setting up a LinkedIn group. And I will also share. I think Rachel will be sharing the video, and I can also share the slides in the group. So if anyone is interested in like making it more user-friendly, give some comments and raise some questions, I'm really happy to answer any questions and make improvements upon your feedback and the comments. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Rick. Yeah, I'll definitely share the video, and we have the LinkedIn group up, so I'll make sure you're in there if you want to post about this. I think that's a great place to kind of continue the conversation.
Cool. Okay. Um, uh, if there will be no other questions or comments, I think let's call it a day here. What do you think, Rachel?
Great. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, this was really great. I enjoyed listening to it, and it looks like I don't see any more questions coming in. So I think we're all set for now, and we can follow up in other ways.
Yeah, definitely. And if like I think because the template is really interactive. I think it's not just a template. It's can be a tool to practice the like business model design and the impact model design. So if a student can find a mentor to practice with them and to simulate with them, that can be more value to use these kind of templates. Yeah, just my suggestion to make the most of the templates.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really my pleasure. And
yeah, I guess I'll end the webinar here, but we look forward to speaking to everyone as you're developing your plans. So have a great night, Rick, for you, and everyone on the East Coast. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks. See you later.
See you later. Bye bye.